I feel like I've heard the word crash out more recently than any other time in my entire life. And usually it's to refer to a character like Megami Fushiguro, Eren Yeager,
And there comes a giant fish!
Majin Buu, who are characters everyone can kind of agree are crash outs. But what I don't hear people talking about, and it might make sense because not everyone is in the Monster Hunter community, but what monsters are the biggest crash outs? If you just look up what is a crash out, you get reckless individual who seeks altercations, which just straight up, that's like a dozen or more monsters. And while yes, I do believe there are a lot of reckless monsters, there are only few who you can truly call a crash out. And I'm going to be naming the top 5. But before getting to there, I need to set at least a little bit more ground rules for what I would consider a crash out in Monster Hunter. Because being a reckless individual is pretty broad. So to add on top of reckless individual, to be put on this list, you have to be someone who's willing to risk your own safety and others for like no reason. So essentially you are crashing out because of little to no provocation and willing to essentially hurt yourself to hurt someone else, but you didn't need to hurt yourself to hurt them, if that makes sense. And one last thing, this is not a power system ranking. This is not like how strong is each monster. We're just ranking them on how much of a crash out they are. So with that being said, before I go into the top 5, I got 2 honorable mentions. First one being Odogaron. And yes, Odogaron is kind of like the pit bull of the Monster Hunter universe, if I'm being honest. Because he does things that you look at it and you're like, why would you do that? Simply put, for the love of the game. Like completely mauling the fuck out of Palumu when he could just, you know, like bite its face off, try to, you know, snap its neck. But no, it's thrashing it around like a chew toy.
You drunk all the fucking milk, man. Give me my goddamn milk back. My milk back.
And when he looks at an Elder Dragon and goes, yeah, no, you, sir, are dying. Like, really, Odogaron? Really? You're gonna try to fight that? And he does. And honestly, he was doing a good job. He was ripping off some chunks until the fucking effluvium got his ass.
Oh, nigga.
But at the same time, Odogaron just, I don't know what it is. He's like savage, but he's not a crash out. He still very much values his own life. But yeah, definitely a good candidate, but not a true crash out. Second honorable mention, Kechawacha. And Kechawacha is only a crash out for like certain parts of his fight. First part, he's a little baby cinnamon roll. God, he's so cute and adorable. He's so goofy. I love him so much. The moment he puts his ears over his eyes, that's crash out mode. It is fully going caution out the window right now. He is swinging wildly. He is gliding to you. Anyone and their mamas could get it when he's like this. But again, that's only in certain scenarios. He doesn't do it when he doesn't have to. And even in that mode, sometimes he lifts one of his ears up so he can actually see where he's, you know, attacking, which does show that, you know, he is still within reason here. But I would just like to mention the crash out mode because it is definitely crash out mode when he's like that. But not a top 5 contender. Just like an honorable mention. And I know I said I only had 2 honorable mentions, but honestly, I just thought of this last one. But it's only here because I can't put it on the top 5 because I simply don't know enough. But I'm very willing to admit that I think it's a crash out. And that's being Bloodbath Diablos. If you don't know what Bloodbath Diablos is, it's a deviant of Diablos. And what happened was when it was a younger Diablos, a hunter came and broke one of its horns, but didn't kill the Diablos. And when the horn started to regrow, it didn't regrow properly. And so the Diablos didn't fucking like that. So now it has a vendetta against every single human being in existence. It is so mad that literally steam is coming off of him. He thrashes around, he throws rocks at you, he's way more aggressive, and you should think, oh, he's a crash out then, right? And I would say yes, but I just, so see, what's making me pause here is that we know he's a crash out with humans, but we don't know how he's like with other monsters. Because again, to be a true crash out, you have to be willing to hurt yourself just to hurt someone else. And I simply don't know if Bloodbath Diablos is like that. Because I don't know if he's just willing to throw away, his life just to kill a single human. Probably not. Or if Bloodbath would try to fight someone as big, as mighty as like Gambit. There's just simply not enough information here, which is very unfortunate, because if it was true, and he was completely willing to be like, you know what, I have a screwed up horn, none of the ladies like me, I'm just gonna go around killing people until I die. If that was the case, oh yeah, easy top 5. But we just don't know about the information, so I can't put him on the list. But if you want to put him on top 5, I wouldn't blame you, if I'm being honest. But that's it with the honorable mentions. Now let's get to the top 5 biggest crash outs in all of Monster Hunter. Starting with number 5 being Bazel. Funny enough, Bazel's only been in the series for not that long, but he's definitely solidified himself as being a certified crash out. And I think every single person in the Monster Hunter community who has ever fought in Bazel knows why he's a crash out. But let's just, get the obvious out of the way, right? He's willing to fight any monster. It don't matter, rare species, Deviljho or Zhang, apexes. God damn it, I'm pretty sure even Elder Dragons could get it if he wants it to. He sees 2 monsters fighting, he's like, oh yeah, I gotta get on that. Oh, I gotta get on that. And then how does he get in on that? Well, it's pretty simple. By carpet bombing the entire fucking area, or dive bombing into the face of the enemy he wants to hit. And I'll be honest, it's a pretty good fucking strategy. But in my opinion, as I've said with the other monsters in the honorable mentions, I don't know why I couldn't think of that for a second. He's not, it's so weird, right? Because you look at it and you look at what he's doing, you're like, oh yeah, that has to hurt him, right? Obviously he's the crash out for that. And no, funny enough, these things don't hurt Bazel when he does it. His own bombs don't hurt him, and when he crashes into the ground, his entire neck and main body is so thick and has shock absorption scales that he barely feels it. So when it looks to us like, oh yeah, he's just throwing his life away to dive bomb towards someone, it's really like, no, he just has faith in his biology that he won't simply take any damage. He's not carpet bombing and running into people with the thought of, this will hurt me and maybe even kill me, but I'm gonna kill this guy instead. No, he's doing it and being like, I have faith in my protection that this shouldn't actually really hurt me. You see, you gotta look past it. You gotta really look, because every single time he does it, he's not in any real danger. He doesn't get hurt. And so, while yes, complete certified hood classic crash out, he hasn't completely lost it. Unlike our number 4 on this list, Tigrex. Now, I'll be honest, if you want to put Tigrex in the 5th spot and Bazel in the 4th, I wouldn't blame you. But here, listen to the reasons I think he should be above Bazel. Because their way of going about things is kind of similar. They just ram into people and just grapple them, if I'm being honest. The difference is Tigrex doesn't have the same kind of, shock absorption, kind of safety blanket as Bazel does. In fact, when you look at him, he doesn't really even have like armor platings or anything. He's not Brachydios. It's kind of just like tough muscle, kind of like Rajang. But even with that said, he still goes out and fights monsters recklessly. Look at this. Radobon is rolling and charging towards Tigrex. Now, Tigrex could just simply move out of the way, or he could, sidestep and then shoulder bash Radobon. Considering Radobon is pretty easy to trip since we could just shoot him with like a slinger shot and he'll like tumble over. So it should be really easy. What does Tigrex do? Nah, bring that ass here. And he tanks it. He tanks it. Not only does he tank it, he puts his mouth on Radobon as he's still rolling. Like, you couldn't just stop him and then crunch on his neck? Or what about when he tried to take on a Gammoth? A Gammoth that was literally just minding its own business. Tigrex was chilling, snoozing in a cave. He felt the slightest bit of tremor. Looked outside and it was like, oh yeah, it's fucking game time. It fucking jumped on Gammoth. Started biting, gnawing on her. Get off me. This is sexual harassment. And it didn't do anything. Tigrex is looking at a Gammoth that took 0 damage and was like, huh, yeah, I did get the surprise and I was gnawing on her fucking head, but I'm still gonna charge in anyways. Dog, look at the size difference. What are you doing? This makes 0 zero sense for you to fight. But nope, he's a crash out. That's why he's doing it. And funny enough, he does still hurt himself. Even if there is no one to fight, he can still hurt himself by doing his iconic, roar.
Do the roar.
Because his roar is so goddamn powerful that every time he does it, it shreds his lungs. He is hurting himself by doing this. Because, dog, you're just, okay, I'm standing far away. You're doing that. You literally just damaged yourself. And I didn't even get hit. What's your reasoning? What's the logic? There isn't logic. You know what? Oh, I'm sorry. There is logic. You know what it is? It's crash out logic.
Please, have mercy.
Even though this is a pretty good resume on your crash out report, I will be honest, Tigrex, a pretty good report here. One small thing, however. Simply put, the monsters above him on this list are more willing to just completely kill themselves for the crash out. Because Tigrex is the crash out, but he isn't willing to just completely lose a limb to kill like a Rathalos. And a kind of a small example here is when he's trying to fight Violent Mizusune and there's fire around him. Dog, you saw him just right there. You can leap over the fire, but he's getting stun locked by the fire because he doesn't want to get hurt. Nope, that's gonna be some deduction points on your report card, my boy. It's just fire. Walk through it.
Oh, shit.
Or jump over it. Why are you so scared? I'm telling you, it's things like these, it's the small things like these that simply just can't make you the #1 crash out. But you can solidify yourself as being the 4th biggest crash out in Monster Hunter. And at number 3, you know it. You know who it is. If you think of a crash out, he's probably your first thought. It's Deviljho. And we all know why Deviljho is in the top 3 of the biggest crash outs in Monster Hunter. But again, I feel like I gotta at least explain it. Same thing like Bazel, same thing like Tigrex. This guy is willing to fight anyone.
Hey bitch, what's up bitch? Suck my dick bitch.
Not only is he willing to fight anyone that breathes, he's willing to do the most outlandish shit ever to kill you. Dragon Breath. Does he need it? Hell no, he doesn't need it. Jumping like Mario. Again, does he need to do that? No, he doesn't, but he will. And some of the most egregious shit I've ever seen in World, he's willing to chomp down on smaller monsters. Even Odogaron, who was on the list. Well, he's not on the list, but again, honorable mention. And just drag him around. With monsters that small, he could literally just flatten them with his foot and with his weight. But no, you see, but you don't understand, all right, hunters, you don't understand. He's gotta bite on them and thrash them around, and it still doesn't kill them. And keep in mind, Deviljho kills everything to eat it. So just simply doing the most, just to not even eat your food faster, it doesn't make any sense. Because again, crash out mentality. And then he does a thing like Tigrex, where just simply fighting him, he'll swell up, and when he gets enraged, he'll start spewing more dragon breath more frequently and things like that. But I'm not sure if you notice, but on his body, his skin and muscles literally open up because they are expanding so hard. He is in constant pain when he goes into his enrage mode. He's hurting himself by doing that. He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to do a lot of things. Good example, what he doesn't need to do when he fights Bazel. Because Bazel's whole defense thing is, you can't attack his neck because above him is very thick shock absorption, scales and muscle. And below is the dangerous area. That's where all the bombs come from.
Now the main problem area is up here. All of this going on up here is what's causing me the most physical discomfort. This area is not good either. I hate this, but I'm mainly worried about this.
Deviljho's like, I could bite the neck, and that also make him pretty much useless. Because he can't hit me, and I can thrash him around better. But a real crash out wouldn't do that. So you know what? Give me that neck. I'm some freaky dicky shit.
Your little pussy belongs to me.
What? What are you doing? There is no thinking. Deviljho is completely willing to lose limbs if only to eat you. That's true crash out mentality. But unfortunately, again, there's always like 1 or 2 things that set these monsters back a little bit. That just like, I can't put you any higher, I'm sorry. And the only one being, with Deviljho, there's 2 things. First thing, when a Deviljho and another Deviljho, usually a female, are near each other, they kind of release pheromones to be like, hey, we're in proximity to each other, it's mating time, let's not kill each other. And so it's actually very docile and peaceful, most likely, because they're kind of like sedating each other and, you know, they're bringing themselves, they're not agitated, right? What the fuck? Are you not a crash out? Eat that fucking Deviljho. But no, they don't. They literally have a system in place so they don't crash out against each other, which, gotta deduct a point. I don't like that. I don't like that. And the second reason, I can understand if you don't agree with it, but listen, it's something that is real. It's something that I just can't get my mind off of. So you know how I said Deviljho has to constantly be eating? Well, he does, because if he doesn't constantly eat, he will die.
You took my only food. Now I'm gonna starve.
His metabolism is insane. So when he kills something, he's looking on to the next meal. And so that is like an extremely big reason why he's willing to kill himself to then kill you and to eat you. That's because if he fails to kill and eat you, all the energy he's just exerted onto himself is so massive that it might as well be death. So funny enough, he's a crash out in this aspect, not because of him, but because of his biology. And again, you could be thinking of this as a dumb reason, right? But let's all be honest. If Deviljho wasn't constantly hungry, let's say, he ate a giant Aptonoth, the size of a country, and he was full, right? He wasn't really hungry anymore. Do you think he would be still as big of a crash out? And the answer is no, he wouldn't be, because he wouldn't have the need to be constantly going out and killing and fighting. Again, I'm not gonna blame it on him. Unlike, you know, with the whole female Deviljho thing, I'm not gonna blame it on him, but it's a thing we should all recognize. And if you don't agree with that reasoning, you might not agree with who I put in the second spot, because it's Raging Brachydios. And let's keep in mind, Raging Brachydios wouldn't be on this list, wouldn't even be honorable mention if he wasn't how he is in Iceborne. Because in Iceborne, we can truly see him for the crash out he is. Now let me explain. Kind of like Quetzalcoatl, his only real crash out moment is during the last bit of his fight, where he leads you to his little arena. He goes fucking berserk, closing off all the areas, and he's completely, in every single word, crashing out. It doesn't matter. Hunters, the ground, the wall, it doesn't matter. Everything's exploding. Everything's getting punched. And all of a sudden, he gets black, like actual obsidian black.
Is that blackface, dude?
Steaming all around him. The flashpoint slime is covering himself entirely. You cannot leave, and neither can he.
You're locked in here with me.
It's a death match between you and him. You might be thinking, okay, well, why is that really, you know, crashing out? This is a crash out moment because he's killing himself. He's not hurting himself. No. He is making the flashpoint slime so reactive and so unstable that it's even hurting him. And since it's all over his body, it's not just his pounders and on his head. No, it's its entire body. He is effectively, every time he uses the slime, killing himself. But you might have to be thinking, okay, but again, like maybe someone like Deviljho could be doing that, right? I mean, again, as you said, Deviljho is willing to essentially kill himself to get a meal. And that's true. When it comes to strong monsters, Raging Brachydios is crushing out this hard for a human. A human! Dude, someone 5'10" is making you just go, you know what? I gotta kill myself. I gotta kill myself to kill this guy. You could see it as, oh, the hunters are so strong. He's pushing Brachydios to be this way, but he doesn't have to. We've seen in older game generations that Raging Brachydios doesn't be like this. Again, you could say game mechanics, different generations, sure, whatever, right? Keep in mind, an extremely small percentage of Brachydios become Raging Brachydios. It is the peak of their species, but they're willing to kill themselves over a human? You don't have to enter this mode and essentially killing yourself to get rid of a human. Again, we know hunters are so super strong, they're so amazing, right? With Deviljho, essentially, let's say losing a limb, losing a tail to kill like an elder dragon, right? That makes sense, right? That makes sense that he's willing to lose a limb to kill someone like Kushala or something, or someone like Espinas, where he gets hurt too. But Raging Brachydios, this all-powerful brute wyvern going, yeah, you know what, fuck it, end of the world apocalypse. I'm dying, you're dying. And keep in mind, even if he does kill us, right? He kills the hunter. Great. He is still in this critical state. He is still dying. The slime is so reactive right now that I don't think it can go back to how it normally was. So even if he fucking won against the hunter, he would still die. That is insanity.
Why are you the way that you are?
But again, he can't be number one. That is one of the most crash out things I've ever seen. It's on the same level of Megami Fushiguro summoning Maharaga to kill this twink. But he can't be the number one because he doesn't... he would have been number one, in my opinion, if he started a fight like this. If he completely went, you know what, fuck it. Like the moment he got apart broken, he just went into that state. But no, it's pretty much after like he's very low on health and he's like, you know what? If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. Whatever. Even if I do kill you, I'm dying too, right? It's still like a last resort thing. He was pushed to be put like that. Is it a complete extreme? Yes. Is it an absolute crash out? 100%. But he doesn't do that all the time. Well, because if he did it once, you know, it's like sacrificing yourself. You only get to do it once. For the number one crash out, in my opinion, I think he deserves it the most out of anyone. Before I say it, leave a comment down below what you think it is. I'll be waiting. You didn't fucking do it. I know you didn't fucking do it. I know all of you. Alright, fine. I'll just say it. Chaotic Gore Magala. And some of you who never played Rise or Sunbreak are going to be looking at me like, really? Really? What makes this guy so special? I'm glad you asked. Let's get the basic crash out requirements out of the way. Is he willing to attack anyone or any living thing? Yes. Is he willing to do it even while getting hurt? Yes. Is he willing to put his life on the line for the smallest things? 1,000,000% yes. In case there are you who don't know what even a chaotic Gore Magala is,
here comes the yap session.
just shut up and listen. Chaotic Gore Magala is part of the Magala family. He's the in-between between Shagaru and Gore. And what happens is Gore is kind of like a caterpillar who turns into a butterfly, aka Shagaru. But in order to do this, he needs to molt. However, it's a very delicate process, and it's a one and done thing. So a Gore Magala has to make sure that this goes perfectly, otherwise, he gets turned into chaotic.
Is this a 5 o'clock free crack giveaway?
And how does he get turned into chaotic? Is simply put, if something stops him from changing, whether that could be from hunters, humans in general, another monster, fucking lightning struck him for some reason.
I like it, cut G.
Any reason, if it makes them stop for even a second, he will fail the transformation and turn into chaotic Gore Magala. And this is a massive deal because a Gore Magala's entire purpose in life is to become a Shagaru Magala. And so interrupting that literally means he has no reason of living anymore. And I love in Sunbreak how they show this with his introduction. The sign of pain, even the monster sounds miserable. Because it was his only thing to do to achieve greatness and he couldn't do it. And you know what? Because he couldn't do it, he has no reason left to live. And since something stopped him from changing, he's going to make sure every single living thing that is in his vicinity will die. It doesn't matter what you are, he will kill you. However, unlike Deviljho, unlike Raging Brachydios, there isn't like a certain specific someone who's pushing him to this point. No, he is willing to rip off limbs. He is willing to do anything to kill anyone. He doesn't need to eat, and he doesn't even need to take a single hit of damage to crash out. And you can see this crashing out when he grabs you in Sunbreak. Because he very much could, kind of like Joe, just crush you with his giant grippers. Or he could, like Rajang, grab you and blast you in the face. He grabs you and then starts dragging you across the ground, throws you in the air, and just for, to just be a little bit more of a crash out, because, not like he already had the number one spot, he shoots you in the face with a frenzy beam, which, funny enough, he couldn't do as Gore. He doesn't have the status or the privilege to do what he could do as a Shagaru, but he has all the firepower of Shagaru that is willing to completely kill itself and kill anyone just for existing. Rathalos, Yeah, come here, dead. A Kelby just wandering around eating some grass? Yeah, come here, dead. An ant wanting to go away from the colony to make something of himself. Oh yeah, he might only have one eye, but he can see you. Come here, dead. If any of this doesn't solidify that he's the biggest crash out, you might be forgetting one major thing. He can make other monsters into crash outs. He might be a failure, but he's still a Magala, which means he still has the frenzy and he can still spread it. And the frenzy is essentially crack, but if crack turns you into a crash out, because frenzied monsters can't feel pain, and so they will do things to spread the frenzy and to kill other monsters. Even if it kills them, even if they lose limbs, it doesn't matter. They can't feel it because they're afflicted. And funny enough, because his thing stopped, he can't become a Shagaru, which has a longer life expectancy. So Chaotic Gore Magala will actually just die. Not because essentially he wants to, even though I'm pretty sure he would want to game end himself. So let me list off, in case you were, amazed by how much of a crash out he is, why he's number one. Number one, he doesn't care about his own life and is willing to rip off his own limbs if it means to kill you. 2, he will fight anyone and anything. 3, he doesn't have a reason to want to kill anyone or anything. He will just do it because now he doesn't have anything left. 4, he can turn other monsters into crash outs. And that is why Chaotic Gore Magala is the number 1 crash out in Monster Hunter. Woo! This was a long video. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. The ranking every monster video is going to be coming out when? I have no idea. It's a very long video, so you're gonna have to give me a little bit. And if you like this video, please, for me and all the crash outs in Monster Hunter, hit the like and the subscribe button. And if you want to keep up with my uploads, hit the notification bell. It helps me out and it shows your support. And with that being said, I will see you in the next video. Stay safe, my hunters.